especially, it seems like you can only like one or the other. But I'm here to dispel that myth. That is not true. You can definitely like both and make time for both. If you haven't already seen my What I Read in August video, you should go watch that. But I read 15 books in August, and I watched 11 films, and I also work full time, so there is definitely room in your schedule to make time for the things that you love doing. So let's get into it. The first film that I watched this month is Grizzly Man. The reason that I watched this film is because me and my partner are currently working our way through the top 100 movies of the 21st century list that was published by the New York Times. I will say that the list is a little flawed, like there's so many movies that are way better than some of the movies on the list, and that should have been included. But alas, this movie is on the list, and I hadn't heard much or anything really. I didn't know this movie existed, but it is a documentary about a man. I'm trying to name Timothy, that's his name, Timothy. And for 13 summers in a row, he went to live in the wilderness with grizzly bears. And it basically is a documentary mainly comprised of his self-footage. Unfortunately, Timothy did pass away, and he was actually killed by one of the grizzly bears. Timothy's whole life philosophy is that bears are friends and they are really stigmatized. They're not as aggressive as they seem, and I definitely agree with his life philosophy. He actually seemed like a really chill guy, and he wanted to spread awareness that bears are these beautiful creatures that we should try to help. So he would live with them in the wilderness for the summer. It is very interesting, the documentary, and you get a sense from the people telling his story that there was sort of more to his relationship with the bears, but he thought he was a bear. And honestly, it was like, I think there was a component of sort of mental illness there as well, but he was so enamored with these creatures and he just wanted the best for them. I think it's obviously tragic what happened to him, but he died doing what he loved. Unfortunately, the bear who killed him was shot, which is so sad because he would never have wanted that bear to die, even though it was the one that took his life. Yeah, I found the movie really interesting. I'm glad I watched it. I would have never watched it if it wasn't for the documentary. I gave it 3.5 stars, if you're wondering. The next movie that I watched in August was Gravity. Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. I had never seen this movie before. Some of the movies on the list are rewatches, but most are ones I've never seen before. I did enjoy this movie. I also gave it 3.5 stars, but I found it to be quite repetitive. If you haven't seen the movie, essentially, it is about a group of people on the International Space Station, and something blows up, like a satellite blows up or something, I forget, and the shrapnel completely destroys their ship, and a bunch of people were lost, but this one lady is the last man standing, essentially. She has to figure out how to get back safely to Earth. I will say, I really, really appreciated that this movie was only 90 minutes long. I think bring back an hour and a half movies. Sometimes a movie does not need to be 2.5 hours, and I think it is really detrimental to some movies to go on for so long. Sometimes a short movie is a good movie, so I appreciated that this movie was short. As I said, I found it quite repetitive. I got the point after she'd sort of been flapping about trying to save herself the first time, but it sort of follows the same theme that she gets trapped and is struggling in space, you know what I mean? Like, it just gets quite repetitive, so I think I didn't enjoy that aspect of it. And also Interstellar is like one of the best space movies ever, and that came out a similar time as this movie, so Interstellar will always have my heart. And also I really liked The Martian as well, both of which I think are better than this movie. No offense. The next movie I watched was the infamous, the widely hated Snow White, the recent live action remake. Now, and this movie sucked. I will say, I love Rachel Zegler. She is so incredibly talented, and she does not deserve any of the hate that she got from this movie. She is amazing, and I'm just so upset that she was so hated because of what was like leaked about this movie and sort of the costume design and her hair. They were not her decision at all. They were the people, they were the casting director, not the casting director, like the costume designer, hair and makeup team. Like, they are the ones that did that to her. It wasn't her. Justice for Rachel Zegler, honestly. Her voice is amazing in this. The rest of it was just boring, and I'm sorry, but Gal Gadot is not a good actor. I don't know. I just cannot deal with her. She's really not a good actor. No offense to anyone that likes Gal Gadot, but I've never met anyone that does in the sort of film space online. I think as well, I'm just sort of sick of remakes. We need to be coming up with some more original film ideas and film content. And unfortunately, I'm feeding into the problem because I watched the movie. If we stopped watching these remakes, then they would stop making them, so I am a hypocrite on that one. The next movie I actually have a physical copy of. I like to collect physical media. You can't see in my background at the moment, but in some of my other videos you can sort of see the DVDs that I have. The next movie I watched was The Hunger Games. If you watched my What I Read in August video, you'll know that I recently reread the whole Hunger Games series, so I thought it was fitting to rewatch all the movies as well. The first Hunger Games movie for me is a 4.5. 4.5 stars. Such a good movie. I think they did a really, really good job and a faithful job at making this into a movie from the book and source material. They worked very closely with Suzanne Collins, and I'm glad they did. And I know at the time of this movie's release, there was some skepticism about Jennifer Lawrence playing Katniss, but I think she did an absolutely fantastic job. Perfect Katniss. Everyone in this movie, I think, is cast perfectly. Shout out to Caesar Flickerman. I forget the actor who played him, Stanley Tucci. Stanley Tucci does such an amazing job at playing Caesar Flickerman. I can't even deal. And I think it's Lenny Kravitz that plays Caesar. No, not Lenny Kravitz. Plays Sinner, not Caesar. And Sinner, standout character in this movie as well. Absolutely adore this movie. I don't have much to say other than watch it. It's awesome. Oh, and there's also a lot of hate online about the shaky cam in this movie because a lot of it is filmed with a handheld camera. Personally, I love that. I think it adds so much to the movie and the perspective. We can really tell that this was sort of like filmed from the perspective of a small town girl, and then when we transition into the next movie we sort of get more of a stable camera, but that works with the story because the next movie is more focused about sort of the capital life and what happens after you win the games. Love this movie. And I'm sure you'll not be so surprised to hear that the next movie I watched was Catching Fire, the second in the Hunger Games movie series. For me, this is a 5-star, as is the book. I just love this movie so much. I think it's a feat in cinema. Everyone absolutely bodied their roles. Finnick, standout character in this movie in my opinion. I forget who plays him, but I just think he's does such an amazing job. It doesn't have his actor's name, so I can't tell you who played him. And Woody Harrelson and Elizabeth Banks, absolutely amazing casting for Effie and Haymitch. And again, Caesar Flickerman and Sinner are back. Of course, we've got the original cast, but it's just amazing. Joanna Mason as well. Shout out Joanna Mason. You did like your character is so funny, so awesome. Justice for you. One other thing about this movie that I absolutely love is that it is shot really close together, and when Katniss rises up in the tubes to go into the arena, the screen fills out like as she's rising up, and that is a feat of cinema in my opinion. That is awesome. Love it, love it, love it. Great movie. I'm really passionate about the Hunger Games. Okay, don't judge. And the next movie, Mockingjay Part 1. Now, unfortunately, the time that these movies came out, we were in the epidemic, let's call it, of splitting last books into 2 movies. This could have been one movie with a longer runtime, in my opinion. Looking back, like as a kid, I didn't really appreciate these movies. I didn't really get what was going on. I think they are really good. They're just not as good as it could have been, if that makes sense. I still really enjoy them. This one's like a 3.5 for me. Just because less is going on and sort of it's more drawn out. It's a lot slower paced. In the book, you feel it's a lot faster paced. They took it in a certain direction. That's fine. That was their prerogative. And of course, Mockingjay Part 2. The next one that I watched, this one is better in my opinion than Mockingjay Part 1 just because more happens. I said in my reading wrap-up video, if you are still Team Gale after the ending of this book/movie, we can't be friends. The ending was insane. I still feel like the shock of finding out what happened and President Snow telling Katniss what Coin did. That was dirty work. Like, he had to do it, but it was dirty work, you know. I think it was a perfect ending. I'm on the fence about sort of Katniss having kids because she always said she didn't want kids in the book, but it sort of makes sense because the whole point was that she wouldn't do it in the current society, but she overthrew it. So, go queen, girl boss, I guess. And the next movie that I watched was also a part of the. They weren't a part of the movie challenge that I'm doing. This next one is back, a part of it. Snow White wasn't a part of it either, obviously. But the first two were. Anyway, the next one I watched is Black Panther. I am not a fan of Marvel movies, really. Like, I think they've gone in such a shoddy direction after Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. Love all of the Spider-Mans with Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire. I love them all for different reasons. I think the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, honestly, they're a comedy. They are a comedy. Looking back, I like the whole dark Spider-Man thing. Emo Spider-Man, so freaking funny. But alas, I did watch Black Panther because somehow it made the best 100 movies of the 21st century, which I disagree. I rated this movie 1 star because it was trash. It was so bad, and I really don't know much about Marvel movies. As I said, Spider-Man's really like the only type that I've seen. I have seen Doctor Strange and like a few other ones here and there, but for the most part, I avoid them because they're just not good these days. And this movie really, like, my theory is correct. I thought it was such a formulaic plot. The CGI was bad. The acting was boring. I don't really know what else to say. And I didn't realize that one of, like, the bad guy was Michael B. Jordan. I'm sorry, but Michael B. Jordan, you cannot act to stick to basketball. Seriously, amazing basketball player. Actually, I don't even know because I don't watch basketball, but he's famous for a reason, so I assume it's because he's a good basketball player. But I'm sorry, but bad acting. I wanted to like this movie because, I don't know, lots of other people like it, and online people like it, but I just didn't. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say. The next movie was another rewatch, not on the New York Times list, but it was about time I re-watched it because I love this movie, and that is Girl Interrupted, starring Winona Ryder and what is her name? Angelina Jolie. I just love this movie. It's a 5-star for me every single time. It captures girlhood, honestly, so perfectly. I don't even know what else to say. But it basically follows this young girl who's like sort of seen, it's set in the 60s, so she's seen as super promiscuous because she has lots of boyfriends or is sleeping with a bunch of different people, and she hates her life. Her parents suck. She comes from like an affluent family, but her parents are just really like assholes. They don't get it. So she tries to end her life. Obviously, gets into the psych ward, and then it follows her story in the psych ward. She meets with a bunch of other people with lots of different mental health issues. I can't speak to sort of like the portrayal of the mental health issues and whether that's accurate. I don't feel comfortable speaking on that because I don't have the mental health issues that are portrayed in the film, so I wouldn't know. But in terms of just like a film perspective, it is such a good movie. I first watched it when I was really young, and that probably contributes to why I like it so much, because it's that nostalgia. And I watched it at like a time where I was quite troubled, so I felt so seen. Loved it. The next movie, we're back on the New York Times 21st 100 movies of the 21st century, and this movie is The Worst Person in the World. This is, I think, it's a Dutch movie. Don't quote me on that. I'm just seeing if I can find out. Or maybe in Norwegian. So it did have subtitles, but I have no issue with that. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was definitely more of an artsy film, which I have no problem with, but my partner did not like this movie. He found it so boring. Fair. And it follows sort of this girl's life. At the start of the film, she breaks up with her boyfriend and sort of goes on this life journey. It's not really a life journey, it's just her living her life. She drops out of medical school to pursue photography. She meets someone new, she's dating them, and then she meets someone else and their old relationship falls apart. She gets into a relationship with this new person. Two other things happen that is like quite integral to the plot, so I won't spoil it. And yeah, it just sort of follows her life for sort of like that period of time. I will say the title of this film is totally misleading. She's not the worst person in the world. She's literally just a person living her life. Like, it's messy, it's complicated, it's life. That's literally what this movie is about. So she's not the worst person in the world. Misleading title. I did enjoy this film. I understand, I guess, why it's on the list, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best movies I've ever seen or anything like that. And the last movie that I watched this month in August was the Minority Report, starring a very young Tom Cruise. I hate Tom Cruise. If all the Tom Cruise haters were gone, I would be gone, or whatever that saying is, because I really dislike him as an actor. I gave this movie 1 star. I really didn't like it. I didn't know what to expect. Again, this movie was on the list, that's why I watched it. I would have never watched this otherwise. Yeah, I did not like this movie. The main problem that I had with it was that, why did it look like that? The whole film looks like someone has put a smudge on the camera and everything is super glary, and it looks like when you try and take a photo of a window but the camera hasn't focused right and it's like letting all the light in, everything is white. That's what the whole film looks like. And it just looked bad. It looked bad. I really question the sort of stylistic choice because it really didn't add anything to the plot. And I don't even think the plot was that good. Basically, it's like this guy who works for this division, like the pre-crime division in the government. And there's like these 3 people that they're essentially holding hostage who can see the future and like see crimes that are committed before they happen. And then this whole department's thing is to like go in and arrest the people before they commit was saying this while I was watching it, like, there are so many things that could happen in the interim where these people don't commit the crime, and then, like, you've just arrested someone for something that hasn't even happened yet. So I was like, okay, right, that's a bit dumb in my opinion. But then we actually find out that what I was saying is true. And there's also, it's called a minority report of having, like, the outcome be different to what the premonition that these people had was. Which I pretty much predicted the movie in the first 10 seconds, so what can I say? I'm a film critic. I'm kidding. Yeah, I just really didn't like this movie, and I never want to watch it again. And it's so funny because my partner was like, oh, I think you'll really like it because I like a lot of like the traditionally like male problematic films like American Psycho, Fight Club, Seven. All of them are my most favorite movies ever. Like, I really like that type of movie. My favorite movie is Ocean's 11, actually. That's not a joke. And, well, I have a lot of favorite movies, but that one's like at the top. And maybe I'll do a video running through my favorite movies. Anyway, so I do really like that type of movie, and this one definitely doesn't fit exactly into that category, but out of all of the movies that we've watched so far for the New York Times list, it's sort of the most like those types of movies, and I'm sorry it was just trash. This is all my personal opinion before you come at me in the comments, but I would really like to know if you've watched any of the movies that I talked about today. What do you think about them? And what have you been watching? Please give me movie recommendations. I love when people give me movie recommendations. It's so, I love it. It's so personal and it can be so like intimate. It's awesome. I really love it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this sort of more chill, chatty video with this really bad mic. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to do these videos with this mic, just to sort of break it up a bit and have more of a chill vibe. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe